Welcome to another episode of Meal Prep Monday. Today, I'm talking all about my rice cooker and some ways you might consider using your rice cooker beyond just cooking rice. Before we dive in, a quick reminder that if you have not tried our Prep Ahead meal prep meal plans, you can head to prepdish.com/MPM. That's short for Meal Prep Monday, and try us out for 2 weeks for free. The link, all the links I ever talk about are always in the show notes. So you can head there, but it's just prepdish.com/MPM. You can also text the word meal prep, all one word, to the number 33777, and you can get a 1-week download for free. So again, the number is 33777, and then you're just going to text the word meal prep, all one word. Okay, so let's get started talking about rice cooker. So if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you have likely heard me talk about my rice cooker. Before I dive into the foods, I want to mention kind of the type of rice cooker I use. I don't use a fancy one with numbers or multiple buttons. I like the very straightforward, basic, like there is one lever. It's like start or not. Like, and there's basically you start it and then it's like either cooking or warming. I know there's fancier ones out there. I'm sure they do, wonderful job and like have a lot of different options. For me, I like the simplicity of just like one button. I am the person that still misses, the cars that have little knobs you can turn up and down to control your temperature. Like when you get into too many digital buttons, I feel like it just gets a little confusing. So that's the kind of rice cooker I use. I can link that in the show notes, but my guess is that what I'm going to talk about today, if you already have a rice cooker, you can use it for all of these purposes, even if you don't have the very basic, simple rice cooker like I have. And if you don't have one, maybe by the end of this episode, you'll reconsider that. I will say one more quick plug on rice cookers. And again, this isn't a sponsored episode or anything, but I resisted them for a long time. I actually am resistant to adding new gadgets or equipment to my kitchen. I don't like to overcrowd my cabinets. I sometimes feel like, the basic is better. Like, all you need is a good chef's knife and a cutting board. You've heard me talk about that when it comes to the meal plans. Like, I am not a proponent of a bunch of fancy equipment. But over time, I've learned some of the things I resisted, they actually are handy to have. And a rice cooker is one of those. I can't tell you how many times I burned rice before getting a rice cooker and realizing, wow, this is a better way of doing things by using this rice cooker, because you can set it and forget it. And okay, one more thing about rice cooker before the thing. So if you do use the Prep Dish meal plans, a lot of times on prep day, so there's some gray area. Like, the way the meal plans are set up is you're doing your meal prep, at the beginning of the week or, one evening, and then kind of setting yourself up for the week. And with that meal prep, there's always some gray area of like, okay, should this be something that you're doing ahead of time? Like chopping vegetables, I think is always a good idea. Do that ahead of time. So then at dinner time, you're not having to mess with that. But then there's this thing like, okay, the rice. Is it better to cook it on Sunday afternoon or just cook it at mealtime? Well, for me, having the rice cooker, I now always cook my rice at mealtime because it is so easy. And everyone in the house, whether it's, the nanny or, a caretaker, we have multiple people that are sometimes helping out with dinner. Everyone knows how to use the rice cooker. It's so simple. So it's one of those that it's easier to just wait and cook it at mealtime. I think if I was cooking it in a pot, I would be cooking it on my prep day because I wouldn't want to mess around with, Tuesday night when things are hectic, worrying about burning my rice. But with the rice cooker, it is definitely something that if it's on prep day, I actually save and do it on the day of my meal. So something else to keep in mind if you're, I'm always trying to figure out kind of the best, most efficient way to do my meals. And that's one where I played around with it and have decided for me personally, it's better to do rice the night of. Okay, so other than rice, what else can I cook in my rice cooker? So I'll start with one that I've probably talked about before. It's a little more obvious, but like any other grains. So quinoa is a really good one that I cook in my rice cooker. It comes out really nice and fluffy. I just use the same, directions that you do if you use it on the stovetop, but you just put it in the rice cooker. Again, the benefit of the rice cooker is it really, like, when it's done cooking, it shuts off automatically, so you're not going to burn it. So it is kind of, again, that set it and forget it. If you go in, sometimes I'll go into I finish the workday, I go into the house, I get dinner going, but then I go sit down with the boys, like give them some attention, and I'm not like in there checking every 2 or 3 minutes. And so if the quinoa is in the rice cooker, I'm not having to worry about whether or not it's going to burn. So quinoa is the first one. The second one is polenta or grits, kind of whatever you want to call it. They're very similar, but the cornmeal side dish. And this is something I just recently started playing around with. And kind of for that same reason, though, like I was burning my polenta on the stovetop. Sometimes I would get distracted, putting it in the rice cooker. It's a lot easier that way. I will say sometimes, so with polenta, like it's one of those things that's better if you kind of stir it constantly. So I do find even if it's in my rice cooker, the texture ends up a little different. And I think the frequent stirring, it would still be helpful. I have definitely put it in there, turned it on, left, come back 20 minutes later, and then just given it a stir. I do think, really good creamy polenta can benefit from you like standing over the stovetop and like stirring it constantly for 20 minutes. But reality, like I don't really have time for that. So my rice cooker has been an excellent sub for doing that, and the method works. So polenta is something else that you can try. And I will link just a basic polenta recipe. Some cornmeal, I find sometimes when I buy the cornmeal, there'll be a recipe, but a lot of times there's not actually. So at Prep Dish, we actually put a recipe on the website, and I always just Google Prep Dish polenta to make sure I get the ratio right. So I'll put that link in the show notes. And it's just a really basic recipe, but from there, you can add, you can add butter, you can add cheese, you can add milk or no milk. So you can kind of change the flavor and add-ons however you like, but the basic recipe is there. And then the third one is one that I'm really liking. And it's an item that I've probably talked about a lot for the past year and a half on this podcast, but it's my morning oatmeal. So I'm still nursing and still kind of waking up hungry, and oatmeal is something that's in the very regular rotation here at our house. One of the go-to combos that I'm still doing is like a pumpkin oats. So it's a can of like cooked pumpkin and oats, and then sometimes some dried fruit, either chopped dates or raisins, some cinnamon. And that's basically it, and then I'll add things on like once it's cooked. Now I had been doing this in the Instant Pot, and that worked pretty well. Sometimes it would stick to the bottom, especially because of the pumpkin. But then my Instant Pot broke, and I got a new Instant Pot. And this one is a lot more sensitive with the like burn thing coming on, like the burn warning. And so I found I could no longer cook my oats in the Instant Pot because the burn thing would come on and it wouldn't cook them. So what I was doing was I was like soaking them in the Instant Pot. I'd wake up in the morning and then just turn it on and like finish cooking them. So someone, I want to say it was like maybe even in a podcast or on social media, but I saw someone was cooking their oats in a rice cooker, and I thought, well, I should try that, especially now that I keep getting this burn warning on my Instant Pot and it's not really working. So I tried it in the rice cooker, and I did the same thing. So I put the oats in the rice cooker like container at night, and the cinnamon, and like if there's raisins, like I'll add all that stuff. And then in the morning, I'll wake up, throw in the can of pumpkin, hit start, and it cooks, and it works great. And I've used it with just regular like rolled oats, but then I've also done the steel cut oats. I haven't done the steel cut oats without the pre-soak. I do think the pre-soak helps a lot both ways because it just cooks really quickly when you do that soak overnight. So, if you can, and I just, for breakfast in general, I find like if I kind of prep it the night before, so then when I wake up, I can kind of throw it all together, but it comes together really quickly. But yeah, having it in that rice cooker, I just have to, click the button and it turns on. So that has been the most recent item that I've been using my rice cooker for that I really have been enjoying. And almost to the point where now, so another little trick or thing that I do with the rice cooker is like, say we make a big thing of rice for dinner and we don't eat it all and we're going to have leftovers the next day. Rather than taking that rice and storing it in a storage container, I just leave it in the rice cooker bowl and put the lid on and store it in the fridge that way. And then I take it back out, and at lunch, if I need to reheat it, you just stick it on the rice cooker. I add a little water and then, hit reheat. So that's nice because you're not using an extra storage container. You can just keep it in the bowl. So the issue there, though, is if I'm using it for oatmeal and rice, at some point there's going to be a day where I want to keep the rice in there for storage, and then the next day I won't have it for the oatmeal. So it could be a thing where I need to either get a second rice cooker. Maybe I could get another bowl. I don't know that you can. I will say for the Instant Pot, that is something we have done. That was something my husband requested. And at first I kind of pushed back. Again, I don't like extra things in the kitchen, but we did buy an extra insert for our Instant Pot. And it's been really nice because there's days where, if we make a big soup or stew, we can just store it directly in that, Instant Pot bowl. But then if we need the Instant Pot a second time, we still can use the Instant Pot even if the bowl is in the fridge with other food in it. This is especially true if we make a big thing of beans because it usually takes us a few days to get through those. So something I guess I haven't done yet with the rice cooker, but because I'm using it in all these new ways, I could see maybe needing another rice cooker insert bowl. But I don't know if those are sold separately because, and the rice cookers are not quite as pricey as the Instant Pot. So that was slightly off topic, but hopefully that helps give you some new ideas and inspiration. If you have a rice cooker that's been collecting dust, maybe pull it out. If you do pull it out, I would love to hear from you. I am at Prep Dish on Instagram, or if you are in our Facebook group, feel free to post on there. If you have other ideas and ways that you are using your rice cooker, let me know. Now that I'm kind of all pumped up about it, I'd love to hear other ideas for things that you're cooking in your rice cooker. Maybe I can get some new inspiration and ideas as well. But yeah, that's all I have for today. And again, if you have not tried our meal plans, you can just head to prepdish.com/MPM, or you can do the text. So you can text the number 33777, and it's going to be the word meal prep, all one word. And you can try out a free week. So that way you can start prepping your meals and saving time. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will be back again next Monday.